Hey there, friends. Settle in with me for a bit, won't you? Maybe dim the lights, pour yourself a warm drink, and let's wander back into the shadows of the American West. I'm not talking about the glossy Hollywood version with quick-draw duels and sunset rides. No, this is the raw, bone-deep kind, where the land itself seems to breathe secrets and sorrows. I've always been drawn to stories like this one, the kind that linger like smoke from a dying fire, reminding us how fragile we are, yet how fiercely we can hold on. It's a tale of two strangers forged in floodwaters and frost, chasing not just survival, but something resembling home. I first stumbled on a version of it in an old dog-eared book of frontier lore, and it hit me hard. Maybe because in our modern rush, we forget how one act of quiet kindness can rewrite everything. Have you ever crossed paths with someone who changed your direction without a single grand gesture? That's the heart of this. Let's dive in, slow and steady, like the river that starts it all. Imagine the Rockies in the late 1800s, a time when the West was still wild, untamed edges fraying against the push of settlers and dreamers. Rain's been hammering down for 3 relentless days, sheets of it turning the sky to lead and the ground to a quagmire. The river, usually a lazy vein through the valley, has swollen into a monster, snapping the bridge clean off its moorings overnight. Thick planks splinter and thrash downstream like wounded beasts, vanishing into the gorge's maw. By dawn, the valley's transformed into a sodden grave, fences submerged like forgotten promises, cattle bloated and bobbing in the murk, their lowing silenced forever. The air's thick with the metallic tang of mud and rot, that damp chill that burrows into your marrow and stays there, whispering of loss. There he stands, this unnamed man, hat brim dripping, coat heavy as regret, boots swallowed ankle-deep in the churned earth. He's the sort of figure you might pass in an old tintype photo, tall and rangy, face edged by wind and solitude, more kin to the coyotes than the crowds in some mining town. Life's taught him to move light, trust less, but there's a steadiness in him, like the deep roots of a ponderosa pine. The mountain road twists upward on the far bank, mocking him with its inaccessibility, a continent away across the raging torrent. Behind, his wagon lies tilted like a broken dream, wheels half entombed, the mules stiff and glassy-eyed, claimed by the storm's fury or sheer exhaustion. And then there's her, Claire. She materialized like a ghost from the mist 2 mornings prior, trudging barefoot along the ridgeline road, hem of her dress ragged as her gaze, clutching a threadbare carpet bag that seemed to hold the weight of unspoken horrors. Silent was she, lips pressed thin, eyes darting to shadows as if expecting pursuit. He didn't probe when she fumbled that letter, creased and crumbling from endless folds. Nor did he question the bruises fading like storm clouds on her skin. In those days, the West was a refuge for the running, a vast canvas where pasts could dissolve into the horizon. He just offered half his canteen, the last scraps of dried meat, and space in the wagon. She climbed in without a word, curling around her bag like a creature long stalked by wolves. I think about her often. How many women back then carried that same quiet burden? Historical accounts from the era paint a grim picture. Domestic abuse was rampant, often tied to the isolation of frontier life, where help was miles away and lawmen scarce. Women escaped brutal husbands or worse, fleeing into the wilderness with little more than their resolve, sometimes arming themselves for the journey ahead. It makes Claire feel less like fiction and more like an echo from real lives, doesn't it? Perhaps you've known that ache, the one where silence is your only shield.
The storms pinned them now, the river a relentless drag, coiling green and furious around a lodged pine, frothing like rage incarnate. She speaks first, voice low and raspy from disuse, cutting through the roar. We can't stay here. It startles him more than the thunder ever did, steady, unyielding, like she's been gathering strength in the quiet. He studies the current, the pull that's claimed bridges and beasts alike. No ford, no raft, only him. I'll carry you, he says, plain as fact. Not chivalry dressed up in poetry, it's necessity, raw and unadorned. The water would snatch her legs out from under her in a heartbeat. He crouches low and she steps into his arms like leaping from a cliff, hesitation absent, eyes forward. Her weight is light but rigid, arms looping his neck as the cold hits him first at the knees, then thighs, chest, a clawing beast dragging in every fiber. Waves crash, breath comes in timed gasps between surges, the river's roar drowning thought. "Don't look at the far bank," he grunts through clenched teeth. "Just stay with me." She doesn't reply, but her grip tightens. Not panic's clutch, but something forged in shared peril, trust blooming in the flood's grip. He's built for this. Years with herds and horizons, honing a quiet endurance, muscles coiling like ropes against the tide. By the far shore he's shaking, bones iced, but he doesn't release her. Not in the sucking mud, not on the gravel's bite, not even as grass yields underfoot. "You can let me go now," she murmurs. He nods once, but carries on, deeper into the tree's embrace. They stumble upon a half-fallen hunting shack, hunkered in the hill's lee like a weary sentinel. He kindles a fire, flames licking at the damp logs, casting flickering shadows that dance like uneasy spirits. Behind a nailed-up blanket, she sheds her sodden clothes, emerging wrapped in his spare shirt, too big but warm. They don't delve into yesterdays, not the letter's secrets, not the scars peeking from her sleeves. She watches him from her corner, eyes weary yet kindling with a tentative warmth, like dawn after endless night. He perches by the door, knife balanced on his knee, guarding not just the threshold, but the fragile space between them, the unspoken pact forming in the fire's glow. Outside, the storm howls on, but inside, a stillness settles, heavy with possibility. It's moments like these that get to me, that first thread of connection in the chaos. I remember a hike I took once in the Sierras, rain turning trails to rivers and sharing shelter with a stranger. How vulnerability can bridge worlds faster than words ever could. Dawn breaks brittle and clean, shafts of sun piercing the canopy, the forest steaming like a collective sigh. He rises first, stepping out onto moss-soft earth, pine needles crunching faintly. The world's emptied, bruised. Rivers claimed its toll, leaving quiet in its wake. He buries a half-drowned squirrel snared weeks ago by some forgotten hand, then tracks and fells a rabbit with a clean shot through the eye. Returning, he finds her tending the fire with a bent rod, hair still damp and wild, his shirt cinched at his waist with a torn petticoat strip. He averts his eyes from the curve of her form. She meets his gaze unflinching. They eat in silence, not strained, but essential. Flavors of smoke and meat grounding them.
"You headed to Telluride?" he ventures, breaking the hush. She shakes her head, eyes fixed on embers. "North, as far as the road takes me. Past the pass, if it gets me clear." He doesn't pry into what chases her, though the marks on her forearms, remnants of grips too tight, held too long, whisper volumes. Bruises like those were all too common back then, tied often to the bottle's curse in isolated homesteads. The temperance movement rose from such shadows, women like Susan B. Anthony linking alcohol to poverty and beatings, advocating for change to shield families from the violence it bred. Claire's scars feel pulled from those real struggles, a reminder that history's pages are stained with such quiet battles. "It's another 2 days to the mining road," he says, meeting her eyes. "I'll take you." "I don't need you to," she replies, but without edge. He shrugs, simple. "You don't, but I'm going anyway." Her shoulders ease, something unlocking, like permission to lean, if only a little. They break camp before noon, her steps cautious over jagged terrain, him pacing beside without encroaching, two shadows from separate tempests, now aligned. That night, beneath a gnarled pine, he yields the fire's warmth to her. She doesn't inquire if he'll stand watch, his vigilant eyes confirm it. Days melt into a rhythm like half-remembered melodies, slow, intimate. He imparts how to glide silent through brambles, footfalls ghosting leaves. She demonstrates twisting wild yarrow into sturdy cord, fingers deft from necessities unknown. Words are sparse, traded like precious tools, practical, pointed. Yet in pre-dawn hours, she sometimes bolts upright, staring into the trees as if phantoms lurk. He never presses. Some ghosts demand their space. On the fourth dawn, peril sharpens. Boot prints etch the mud. 3 men, heavy laden, tracks fresh as dew. He kneels, fingers brushing the impressions like reading braille. She freezes behind. They're close. He murmurs, "You know them." Her jaw clenches. I know what they'll do if they catch up. Without fanfare, he draws his revolver, offers it grip first. She hesitates a breath, then claims it, knuckles whitening. That night, no blaze to betray them. They burrow in a shallow hollow under a toppled cedar, branches veiling their forms. He lies near, not touching, but close enough to sense her breath's cadence, ears attuned to every snap that's not the wind. Snow descends premature, a gossamer shroud muffling the world, erasing trails, theirs and the hunters. Quiet presses like reverence, cold and sacred. She stirs first, revolver nestled at her waist, breath pluming in the crisp air, eyes clear as polished steel. He's changed her, or perhaps revealed her, transformed from the river-crossed waif to a figure honed by resolve. They press north by gut feel, threading deer paths and buried streams. She takes point at times, when slopes narrow or light slants just so, as if these woods echo a former life. In a dense fir grove, remnants of a fire, charcoal warm beneath ash, he says, "They're hunting us slow, don't want to spook you into bolting far." She states, flat, "They won't stop." "No," he concurs, "but neither will we." Dusk ushers thinner air, trees thinning, wind knifing sharp. Atop a barren plateau, she queries, "Why are you still here?" He scans the valley below. "You need someone watching your back. You could have slipped away in the night." "I know." The silence yawns. Softer, "You don't owe me anything." He turns, truly sees her, face gaunt but forged, shadows carving strength. He knows, he repeats. Yet he bears her burden still. In his shallow slumber, knife's vigil, body angled against gusts. It's that unspoken vow, isn't it? The one that binds without chains. Have you ever carried someone's weight like that? Not out of duty, but because letting go feels like losing part of yourself.
They claim an ancient trapper's hut, roof weeping but walls defiant, stove functional, door barring the wild. Inside she presses against the timber, exhales long, then crouches. He mans the window, shadows lengthening. "Will you ever ask," she ventures, gaze averted. "When you're ready." A stove log pops, she twitches faintly, then voice level. "I was sold, real coins in a palm, contract inked." He stills. "Ran once, hauled back, second time I killed one. Wind keens outside, but within hush reigns." He nods deliberate, then we keep running. She rises, crosses the room. "No, we start turning." And in that pivot she's no longer quarry, neither are they. This turning point resonates with me, drawing from true tales of frontier women who arm themselves against abusers. In the 1800s West, women like those in Kentucky daguerreotypes posed with Colt revolvers, symbols of self-defense in a lawless land where courts sometimes justified lethal force for battered wives facing no escape. The temperance push amplified these voices, decrying alcohol-fueled violence that left women desperate. Claire's resolve mirrors those historical rebels, turning fear to fire. Come morning, he schools her in the rifle's care, cleaning, loading, sighting. They trail the prints now, descending a gully where snow spared the earth, leaves crushed under heedless boots. The men are sloppy, slipped stones, tobacco spittle by a soggy pit. 2 days ahead, maybe less, she gauges. He trusts her instinct. The valley unfurls into rolling hills, pines dotting like sentries, a creek slicing swift and shallow, murmuring colder truths. They ford without halt. On the opposing bank, camp signs, plucked feathers, frost-scraped boots, lingering grease and powder scent. He probes the fire ring, warm below surface. Circling, she discerns, eyes westward.
trying to flush us. Let's oblige, he replies, grim. Before twilight they craft ambush, decoy trails veering, then concealment in a spruce-cloaked hollow. He burrows behind a felled log, she ascends with rifle. Sky bruises to night, clouds veiling moon like weary lids. Time drags, an owl's cry piercing, then void. She spies the lead, shotgun slung, gait of a fated killer, withholds trigger. Companions emerge, bunched imprudently. Twig fractures, oath erupts. She fires, clean, the first crumples. Chaos. They bolt, but sluggish. One lunges logward, meets his...
A broad meadow cradles elk beds in moss. He traces their paths, hunts shed antlers, adapts to wind's whims. She absorbs, intuiting relevance. Evenings, modest fires root them. She gathers tinder. He snares. Flames rise, they face across, knees tucked, sustenance simmering. Once, her hum threads air. Fragile melody, startling is sudden flight. She halts, noticing. He proffers final dried apple, defenseless exchange. He's no anchor, sod house born, collapsed post-birth, brother evaporated near Helena, built not enduring. Yet her proximity roots like timber. Dawn, she fetches water, returns lip-curled slight. Cabin, half-mile, chimney smoke. Rifles lax but ready, they near. Ruth and Cal, time-softened pair, her limp from ancient tumble, his voice gravel sweet. Queries sparse, coffee proffered, silence inviting. Running or rooting, Ruth inquires gentle. Claire glances himward, betwixt. 3 nights, loft under cedar-scented quilts, garden tending sprouts, fence mending elk ravaged. Stillness is silhouette, not full peace. Ruth packs provisions, mind one another. We do, Claire affirms. Trailbound, he muses. Could seek such spot? She ponders, silent. Night, her hand seeks his, mere presence. He interlaces, whispers darkward, not holding you, standing with. Her essence shifts, burden communal, elected. Ridge crests basin, golden grasses cascade, streams silver-threaded, cottonwoods pale gainst mountain spines. This, he queries? She surveys, for haven, not hazard. Think so? Days forge structure, lean-to first, pit dug. He hews pine, she masters saw's bite. Beams notched, puzzle tight. She tills soil dark with bygone life, he lays traps. Nights, weary collapse fireside, pains of creation, not evasion. Streamside noon, laundering torn shirt, he squats near, fish deposited. Roof pre-frost. Hold, we will. Her eyes harbor shades, yet light cohabits. Ponder leaving, once, now morrows. She assents. Night, caught communal, spine to torso, digits rib-nestled, limb protective sands demand. Dark, river cross, thought you'd drop me bankside. Didn't. No, don't want you to. No vows, deeds suffice. Blazes nursed, hurts bound, refuge hand raised. Autumn dawdles, cottonwoods aureate, air rarefied. Second seat doorside, beans sown. Twilight, horizon gazing, hawk wheeling. No more flight. I, home. Friends, that's the essence. Not soil-bound, but in daily choices. Mutual bearing sans release. It stirs me profound, this yarn. Echoing authentic frontier fortitude, where women wielded irons for sustenance and safeguard. In our hurried era, it queries, whom do we carry, and who lifts us? If this resonates, drop your thoughts below. Till next, tread gentle.